Hello, my friends. It's me again. And it's time for yet another tale. A fantastic Neckbeard story. From our friend, Reddit user Don't Trim Your Antlers. This is Dombeard, the story of night. I don't know what to expect from this, so, here we go. Greetings, Moonhorse. Hello. And the Moon Cult. About a year ago, I wrote Confessions of a Recovering Nice Guy. It was the story of how I escaped bearddom with a socialist rant at the end, if you remember. I didn't write it with the intention of posting more, but I got to thinking about it, and I've got a lot of stories about beards I've met in the past. Here's one about an alpha wolf I met in a not-safe-for-work group chat. By the way, I know that I'm drop-dead sexy, and it's super hard for people to control themselves around my leftover beer gut, but there's a part at the end where he gets a little too handsy without asking. And I, understandably, get pretty upset. So, just a warning. A quick update on myself. I quit drinking almost 6 months ago. Oh, congratulations, dude. I decided that if I'm gonna go early, it's gonna be on the Appalachian Trail, somewhere off in a whitewater kayak. I also picked my violin back up. I'm putting my intense, painful emotions into bluegrass where they belong. I'm not pursuing romance at all because that's so far down the get my stuff together list that I don't have the capacity to think about any of that right now. You gotta take care of yourself. That's important. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but what I lost in alcohol, I gained in confidence and determination. So I know that I'll be alright. I'm glad to hear you're recovering. That's wonderful. Now, on to the story. Gather around, ye scallywags and weary travelers. I have such a cringy tale to spin. Fill your horns with mead of poetry and your bellies with minted goat. Come revel in mirth and heal your hearts with laughter. And, as always, smoke 'em if you got 'em. Let me lay out the characters for you. There's me, a half-confident 25-year-old fishmonger and budding social butterfly. Jax, my best friend and partner in crime, sometimes literally. Every nerdy edgelord's wet dream. Knight, the beard in question. I call him Knight because that was his username. Not Mr. Knight, not The Knight, not Jenkins Knight Esquire, just Knight. Thinking back on it makes me want coffee and some ibuprofen. Lurch, Knight's 6-foot-tall sub who literally said like 5 words the entire time I knew him. Heathen Karen, typical granddaughter of the witches they couldn't burn, very in tune with the mass-production pagan ways that they sell over at Spencer's. The Quiet One, Knight's asexual girlfriend, spoke less than Lurch. Back about 3 years ago, Jax decided to start an NSFW group chat to rival another in existence at the time. More accurately, the old one had Proud Boys in it, so we were like, to hell with this, and dipped. Understandably so. No titties are worth consorting with bootlickers. I couldn't have said it better myself. I was never given the details on why Knight was allowed in the group, but as best I can figure, it was one of those cases where a creep looks relatively harmless based on his Facebook profile. Remember, kids, don't trust someone just because their memes agree with your ideals. They'll bite you in the ass, and not in the fun way. Knight started by carpet bombing us with selfies. One was a black and white shot of him crouched in a tree while wearing a trench coat and Kubrick staring into the distance. Why? If you're unfamiliar with the term, it's that look Jack Nicholson gets in The Shining just before he decides to off his wife. Or, if you've seen Full Metal Jacket, it's that look Private Pyle gets before he snaps and ends the drill sergeant. It's that look that the Neckbeards have when they're trying to look like aloof, depressed anime characters. Oh yeah. The Kubrick stare. Making Neckbeards look cool on the internet since 1990 never. There was a written rule in the group chat that us guys had to give warning before we sent any portraits of our King Johns, or whatever dick pics were called in the 1800s. Privatary portraits. The group was about 2/3 women, and they received enough unsolicited Play-Doh snakes as it was. You have a way with words. Most of us were creative enough not to photograph our unwashed testicles and call it nude, but even so, it was a totally understandable and perfectly reasonable rule. Unless, of course, you're a greasy-haired Kubrick-staring pleb who thinks a nude consists of an uncooked hot dog stuck in the side of a muffin. Wow. He almost went full nice guy when we called him out on it. He lamented that it was unfair and a bit sexist. We basically just told him to shut the fuck up and follow the rules, or hit the road. Even then, he tried to argue further, but finally took the hint when Jax tore him a new one. Honestly, if you've got titties in your inbox every day, I don't know why you would sabotage it. But I digress, for what came next made me wish for the simple days of Kubrick stares and dick pics. One night, Knight asked if he could share his writing. Being a writer myself, I don't care if you're Ed Gein and my skin is at risk of becoming your next lampshade. I want to see your work. That being said, I wasn't prepared for my eyes to flee their sockets. The erotica Knight wrote wasn't your average cringe with a kick. It was a red-hot fuck-you-up Carolina Reaper cringe. It was a story written in the second person where the author describes what you're doing and what's happening to you. The Knight had a thing for a primal kink. I'm scared of where that's going. It was the only thing he liked to talk about more than his 2-year dry spell. Let me hop off the beaten path to mention that almost every time a girl posted a picture, he'd whine and carry on for at least half an hour about how long it had been since he last had sex, in graphic detail. He never failed to mention that his asexual girlfriend let him fool around with whoever he wanted to. He was a total dom, by the way. Excuse me while I go dry heave. Oh, I shall join you. Because what the fuck? I'll just say that my entire brain was mad at me for reading this story. He had the reader, the mystical and mysterious you, lost in the woods and terrified. The reader would then come to a clearing with a waterfall where a cheap Tarzan knockoff would emerge from the water and back the reader against a tree, sink his teeth in, rake his claws across your flesh, oh god, growls seductively. My insides are trying to become tiny black holes. This is every literotica post I've ever fucking seen. Holy shit. You can't help but give in, or something. Throbbing member, something, etc. Knight thought it was a masterpiece of erotic literature. Really, it just made everyone feel a little sick. Second, I mean, who the fuck wants to get molested by Bigfoot while they're lost, starving, and probably dying of hypothermia? I'm sure he's probably seen the movies. Oh yes, kids. There's Bigfoot porn. Although, if it was an episode of The Search for Sasquatch, I can't say I wouldn't watch it out of morbid fascination. Jax and I would later record the story. She read it, and I did sound effects behind the camera. Call us alchemists because we turned lead into gold. That sounds fucking magical. Enter Lurch, then Heathen Karen. The group was dying, and Jax wanted to add more people to keep things fresh. Knight suggested adding his sub, and soon the gentle giant was in our circle. He was honestly really sweet. I don't think he was a real-life neckbeard. I think he was just socially awkward and lonely. Knight had this dude convinced that he was akin to John Wick since he technically worked for a private security company. But, by how Knight told it, you'd have thought that he was in Blackwater. In reality, he was more or less just a rental cop. But the company gave him a cool hat and some fingerless gloves, so naturally, Knight thought he was Bruce Willis. He did that thing neckbeards do when they shoehorn in their incorrect martial arts wisdom into every conversation possible. He never missed an opportunity to remind us all what a total fucking badass he was. Lurch was meant to unconditionally confirm his delusions, but the rest of us were thoroughly unimpressed. Except Heathen Karen. She was always in full support of these antics. What Knight and Heathen Karen had in common was the desire to wax poetic over spirituality, kicking ass, and being in touch with their primal selves, yada yada. Oh, the primal self. How lovely. If it was a behavior attributed to self-important mall goths, they were living it out. Might I add, we're all in our mid to late 20s at the time, which makes the whole thing that much more aneurysm-inducing. I had my first experience with my spirituality when I was a baby falling asleep in the sweet lodge in my dad's lap. But, Heathen Karen got herself a copy of the Wikipedia last week, and Knight's great-great-grandma was yet another Cherokee princess. They were more than happy to educate me on the colonized bastardization of my ancestors' ways. Assholes. God, I hate retail witches. Anyway, we just gotten smacked with a double whammy. Here came a Legbeard out of the Neckbeard. All we were missing was a legitimate incel, and we would have achieved the trifecta. Needless to say, the group became a sucking teat of piping hot garbage. Eventually, the local anime convention rolled around. Knight and Heathen Karen were ecstatic. People like them are the reason why I stopped going, but I play a medieval combat sport called Bellagreth, and my home field was there doing a demo. I love putting on a good show for the newbie, so I figured I'd attend and get some fighting in. I also wasn't going to miss an opportunity to meet Knight in real life. I feel like I'd been studying an invasive species for months, and I was finally getting my chance to do some real field research. Anime conventions typically smell like sulfuric pizza with extra minced colon. Wow. So I spent most of my time outside. Look, I know otakus are typically shut-ins, and shut-ins are typically depressed, and depressed people typically don't bathe as much as everyone else. I get it. I've been there. But have some respect for the poor sap who has to sham-wow the musk out of the carpet. Damn. Knight texted me, and I gave him a description to our impromptu fighting pit. The first thing I noticed was that he was shorter than me, which is hard to do. I got my European blood out of Wales, so I'm something like 5'7". It's not that difficult to be taller than me, but you really gotta put in effort to being shorter. The second thing I noticed was his rotund and sour-smelling gut, which he had failed to contain with his obscure DC villain cosplay. The third thing I noticed was that he only spoke through his nose. Oh. I could feel my ears sipping cyanide every time a honking nasally word came out of his mouth. Imagine getting hollered at by a Canadian goose, and you've basically got the idea. Oh, lovely. We talked for 10 minutes or so while Lurch stared at the grass, and I gave Knight the down low on Bellagreth's rules. He was itching to try it out, so we grabbed a couple of swords and shields, and I got to whoop on him for a little while. After taking his beating like a good little fuckboy, Knight was all the way out of breath.
Where'd you receive your training?
He really said that. I can't make this shit up. Like you're a fucking samurai. Oh! Okay. I shrugged. I mean, I just got my ass kicked until I got sick of getting my ass kicked. Guys in my unit don't really go easy unless you're legitimately hurt or having a bad time. Knight's lip curled.
What's a unit?
Basically a group of like-minded fighters who like to play the game in the same fashion. The one I'm in is called Empire of the Wolf. We, do the whole Viking thing. Let me clarify for the knee-jerkers out there. We're not white supremacists or manly macho mans, just history nerds. I kind of figured. Knight smirked as if he was about to do something really impressive.
Empire of the Wolf, huh?
He flexed the flab that so desperately wished it was a bicep and lifted his sleeve. It was the first tattoo I've ever seen that you couldn't pay me enough to put on my own body. It was supposed to be a wolf howling at a full moon. Really just looked like a hairy thumb yelling at a piece of styrofoam. Oh! I felt like he took a graphic Walmart t-shirt to a mediocre tattoo parlor and told the guy, I want this $5 wolf picture to be on my body forever. Oh. This is magic. All I could manage to say through biting my cheeks was, ah! The quiet one showed up the next day, and her and Knight wasted no time in looking for barely legal children to sucker into their poly thing. Fucking what? Didn't take long for me to get angry, did it? I remember walking up to them, and they had a young, clearly over-sheltered girl between them while Knight spoke very loudly about BDSM. I remember his stupid all-black suit that was equal parts too big and too small. I can sit here and talk about what I should have done, but the truth is I had no fucking clue what I should have done. The guy was friends with real Metro cops, and the girl had a piece of plastic saying that she was an adult, so no, I don't know what I could have done at all. The legal answer is not a goddamn thing, but I'm not going to make excuses for why I didn't call him a predator or piece of shit to his face. Cowardice or drunkenness, I guess. Not exactly a shining moment in my saga. Still, the fact that you made people aware of how much of an absolute fucking asshole this dude is, I'd say that's a good step. Not a full redemption arc, but a good step. I left that situation to go smoke some weed and got distracted most of the rest of the day. Later that evening, I changed into my summer goth attire because I wasn't going to wear my sweaty Viking clothes to the Saturday night parties. I had on some jeans that made my ass look like a balloon, and a few weeks before, I'd mentioned offhandedly in the chat that I was, in fact, bisexual. Night found me in the courtyard and took my bi-ness as an invitation to cop a feel.
Kill him now.
5 fat fingers closed around my left buttock before I even knew he was there. I've been assaulted in the past, and I totally froze. I am so fucking sorry that that happened. Oh my god. Just for a second, I felt like a rabbit in a wild dog's teeth. That feeling didn't last long, though. I turned around and realized this audacious sack of maggot turds had just grabbed me. Without permission. Like he fucking owned me. All at once, I remembered that I can fight. Y'all, I wanted to lay this motherfucker out, but the moment passed and no longer would have been considered self-defense in court. So what did I do? I stuck my ass out as bait. Knight spanked me and I got in his face. I squared my shoulders and looked down my nose at him and said, "You like that, bitch?" I was daring him. More than that, I was begging him to put his hands on me one more time. I was about to whip up a bloody pancake, and the recipe called for his nose and my elbow. I was fixing to fuck that dude up hillbilly style. And he knew it, too. Lucky for him, and unluckily for me, he took several steps back, and his smirk turned into a sniveling pout. Some dom, huh? I called him a bitch to his face, and he didn't do shit. All in all, I guess it was a satisfying outcome. Him and his dumbass black suit and his dog shit tattoo didn't come near me for the rest of the weekend. The group chat ended with unrequited feelings and drama between Knight and Heathen Karen. That's a story for another time. And Jax remembers it better than I do, so we might just write that together. I look forward to that. Please do tell us more. Basically, Knight tried his damnedest to join Heathen Karen's dick harem, but even she recognized him for what he was. To this day, he still texts me pictures of him and his partners at least once a year, as if I spend my time worrying about whether or not this fucking guy's getting laid. I would block him, but he's such an uninteresting and forgettable dish rag that I only ever think about him for the 2 seconds it takes to see his text and not respond. What's going through his thick tapioca mind? I don't know. I can only speculate that he wants someone to tell him that he's super special. Congrats, you had sex. You managed to do something that almost every being with genitals throughout the entirety of evolution has done. Good for you. Now leave me alone. So that's the story of Knight, as best as I can tell it. I have more beard adventures to write down, but like I said at the beginning, I'm beginning the grueling process of getting my shit together, so I don't know when I'll post them, but I'll definitely be back with more, though. Blessed be the moon cult, and y'all have a fine rest of your day. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's so many little things in this one that I... Okay, where do I even fucking begin? First off, the saddest part about this dude, the saddest fucking part about Knight, is that I've known people like that. Oh yeah. Yeah, see, when you're in your late teens, throughout your 20s, you tend to do a lot of really stupid shit. It's okay, you're 20, that's what you're supposed to do. You make a lot of really fucking stupid mistakes. Why do you think insurance exists? Because people fuck up. So, I know guys like that, or at least I did. I used to know people like that, and oh Lord, there's so many magical things. So, let's see, where do we even begin? Do we begin with the Dom thing? I cannot tell you how many times I've met internet Doms who have to tell me all about how, overtly and amazingly sexual they are, because they found out I'm bi, and for some reason, knowing that I'm bi means that I want to know this. Spoiler alert, I don't fucking care. I just don't. I expect that most of you, being adult humans, have had sex at least once. That doesn't mean I want to hear the entire tale of it. This is literally a stranger, in a lot of these cases, some stranger who feels it's necessary to enlighten me about how they've gotten all of the sex. Well, I don't even know your name, so I couldn't fucking care less. Your sex story should have something at least interesting happening in it if you really want to keep my attention. If the phrase, "then a train exploded through the wall," doesn't come up at least once, I don't care. I'm fine. Move along. But yes, so many of them. And it's as if the idea of just, like, doing this idea of, I have had this sex, is somehow supposed to be appealing. It's not. It's really not. No. You're gonna have to do a little bit more than that. Sorry, bro. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. Oh, but then the other part. The feral lifestyle thing. Yeah, that brought up some memories. See, I don't know anybody who's specifically into that particular thing, but there's there's a contingent. I don't know how big it is, but I know that there is a group who exists in the furry fandom who are very, very adamant about being not just fuzzy little creatures, but feral fuzzy little creatures. Oh yes, especially the wolves. Oh god, the fucking wolves. Oh, they're special. How do I even begin to put this into words? I'm trying to, like, gather my thoughts. I knew more than one of these groups, shall we say. They call themselves packs, you know, 'cause they're wolves. And every single one of them has the same kind of little layout. There are the alphas, and everybody just has to think that the alphas are magical and special and sexual and just the greatest, the greatest, the greatest. And essentially it's just like a weird harem thing. That's what they really want, is, you know, a harem thing. This is not like a polyamorous relationship, because that's people who are actually, you know, in a relationship. This is just a group of fuck buddies. But they don't want to call themselves a group of fuck buddies because that's too embarrassing. No. See, they're special because they're wolves and this is their pack. That's totally different. Why are you laughing? So, the ones I knew always had this weird thing about trying to get people I knew, as well as myself on more than one occasion, involved, because I guess as soon as they find out you're bisexual, they're just like, you can be a part of our pack, and I'm just like, no! How about fucking not? Big ones that I knew, I remember specifically there was one who not only was like super into their whole like, but we're like feral wolves, and I was like, neat. And they would go on this whole thing about how they prefer to, you know, they really want to go hunting, and they prefer to go out in the woods and do all this stuff. And when they say hunting, I don't mean like hunters hunting. I mean like, you know, they have food and they're essentially just camping, but at some point during the camping there has to be like LARPing as wolves. And I knew one guy who on more than one occasion would sleep in like a heap of blankets on the floor. He had a bed, he just, you know, wolves had a den, so he had to do that. I don't know why. That was just a thing he did. It was weird. So, all this kind of stuff is not... I don't know how to say this. It's not the most uncommon. It's not common in the whole, you know, fur community, but there's definitely a part, and you know them. Oh, when you know them, you know them. They're right up there, like right on the fucking borderline with the other kin, because being a wolf is not just, you know, a thing they like. Like, I know a lot of furries who are just like, yeah, I'm a tiger because I like tigers. And if you ask them, like, are you legitimately a tiger? Like, no. What? No. What the fuck are you talking about? It's just a thing, you know? It's like a pretend thing. It makes me feel better. But these people, like, no, that's their life. You ever know one of those people, like, some of you may know this, where you go over to somebody's house and, like, literally every bit of decoration in their house is, like, one particular animal? Like, they own every piece of, like, wolf, like, merch. I don't know why it went there. Wolves have merch, I guess. Hashtag wolf merch. But it's like that, you know, like hundreds of little statues. We got posters. They always wear wolf t-shirts. Always. They have more than one. They're like a fucking cartoon character. Or like the people who are like obsessed with foxes, or the people who are obsessed with dolphins. Yeah, that. No, it's very much that. And it's weird. It is. And to really put the icing on the cake, a lot of the times the people who are part of this, you know, grouping, the people who I knew who were definitely in this. Now remember, I was into the whole furry thing when I was much younger, so some of you may remember the wolf girl in high school. I don't know if you had one of those. Some people had a horse girl. Some were like cats or foxes. There's a lot of those in those groups. The wolf girl was always the one leading the role play on, like, Second Life. Or like... Shit, what's that other one? I don't even remember. It's all 2D. It fucking looks like Habbo Hotel for something. Anyway. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was a thing. And that's what these people make me think of. And I would not be surprised if this dude Knight, knew these people, and he and his group were actually a part of some of these things. That would not surprise me. It would be really, really fucking funny, but it would not surprise me. Oh, man. This story has brought out things in me, and I'm so happy that I get to share all of these things with all of you, because the internet is really just a magical little trash fire, isn't it? But with that being said, it is time to end this video. We've gone on quite an adventure or two. So, if you've enjoyed this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share whatever video of mine that you want. Share this one, share another one, share it with people who aren't expecting it. Share it with strangers. Write the URL down on a rock and leave it somewhere, where people will find it. Don't actually do that, because that's fucking weird, and I think it's littering. But, you know, I just kind of wanted to go somewhere with that, so there's that. If you would like to support this channel so I can keep doing things like this to continue my further madness, I have a Ko-Fi, I have a merch store. Those things help keep these things happening. You know, as it is. Every Saturday night there is a live stream, and I have a subreddit, r/Moonhorse Stories. The links to all those things and more are in the description below this and every video. And with all that being said, I'll see you in the next video, guys. I love you all. Goodbye.